All right, welcome back. So we are tackling a big unit this time. We're going to tackle Firebase, which is really significant. It's something I'm hoping you'll use for your project in a big way. So we're going to learn about Firebase, which is a way to save data up into the cloud, right? So it's available on all the different devices. And I'm going to talk about Firebase a little bit here. And then we're also going to talk about launching different activities, and so like multiple screens and how we do that. So let's kind of start by taking a look at what we got. So what I've got here is I've got two devices. I've got my actual phone, so like if I click on launch this MovieQuotes app here, you can see this one. And then I've also got the emulator over here. So the emulator is running on my computer, and then my actual phone is of course running in my hand here. The idea of this app is that it's saving pretty simple data. It's saving MovieQuotes is the theme of this app. So you can see we've got a couple MovieQuotes in here. What you can do here, and I'll just kind of do it on my phone, is you can add a new MovieQuote. And so, I don't know, let's just say, I'll be back. And this is from the Terminator 2. Kind of a little joke on there, just because I think I already have I'll be back from Terminator 1. And a couple things happened really quickly there. So what happened was I typed it into my phone, right? But you actually see it in the emulator. And the important thing here is that there's no magic. I know you can see them a couple pixels apart, but there's no magic here. This other phone could be anywhere in the world, really. So as I edit things on my device here, so let's just say I come in to I'll be back. Let's just say I delete it. What I want you to do is I want to watch the emulator. So I click on delete, and you can see that it's gone from the emulator very, very quickly. And if you think what actually happened there is it actually sent a message to Google servers to delete that from the back end. And then Google servers notified this other device here, which is somewhere else, could be anywhere in the world, and said, hey, there was a change, take this quote out. And it happened really fast. Let's watch it again. So yo, Adrian. So I click on delete, and you can see that it's gone over here amazingly quickly. And that message legitimately traveled like a good distance around the world. It just depends on what data center Google's using for your area. And mine have traveled to the US and back for all I know, which I just think that's really neat, right? So that's one thing that we're doing, is learning about Firebase. We're going to talk about it a lot. Another thing is that we're learning about multiple activities. So I'm just going to click on the emulator here. If I click on this row that says I'll be back, you can see that it actually opened up a new screen. It wasn't a dialogue, it's actually a new screen. And what this is launching another activity. So let's just change this one to be I'll be back in Terminator 3, and watching go the other way too. So I hit OK here, and boom. So it actually hopped to the top. That's code I wrote that makes it go to where the most recent modified is on top. And so that's what Firebase is all about. And things are saved permanently, of course. So if you were to close the app and take it out of memory and bring it back, I mean, it's saved in the cloud. So it doesn't matter about state of the device. It's all saved in the cloud. And so you can watch it on different devices. You can also watch it in their data center, which I think is kind of cool. So you can get a website here to actually go see the data like in the cloud. So let's say I deleted I'll be back. You can see that like in the back end I've got these three quotes. So here's the Lego movie. There's the Terminator 3. If I hit delete right here, you can see it actually got deleted off the back end. So you can actually watch the data in the back end, which is fun. And so let me tell you a little bit more about Firebase. I'll bring up a website here. Firebase, you can go to firebase.google.com if you want to learn more about them. And they are owned by Google, so it's a Google product. They were originally a small startup company, and they really became popular because they were using sockets for everything, right? So that's real-time database. Like when something's saved, everybody just hears about it right away. And they were doing pretty well. The thing that makes me excited about them as a company is I teach at Rolls-Holman back in the US, and Firebase was started by Rolls-Holman guys, right? So they were not my students, admittedly. They were just a little bit before me. But I think it's neat that alumni from my college started this company, which is like the main Firebase, or the main storage tool that's being used by lots and lots of companies that are newer, right? Obviously, things like SQL dominates older companies, and they're never going to change. But newer companies that are trying new things, love to use these new tools, and Firebase is one of the big ones. And so you can read all about it if you want here. The main thing that we're going to actually do, though, is we're going to go to console.firebase.google.com. And this is where developers go. So you don't go to like the main public page, you go to the console page. And you're going to need to visit this URL. So if you want to go and open up a tab with this, we'll use it in the next video. But this is what has all your projects in it. You can see I've done who knows how many projects. But that's a good site to go visit. So that's what we're doing in this lab. Another thing I wanted to tell you about in this lab is the idea of CRUD. So CRUD stands for Create, Read, Update, Delete. I'll try to get a little bigger here. And CRUD is something that you're going to have to worry about in your project and in this app. And you'll just hear me say it enough that it's good to kind of get familiar with the acronym. Create is obviously when you create, like MovieQuotes in this case. Read is when you display the list of them, or when you display one of them by itself. By the way, that's often called master detail. So here's the master view that shows you kind of like an abbreviated view of all your items. So for example, it says, hello, my name is Inigo Montoya, you killed, and so you don't see all the details in the master. And then if you click on it, you see in the detail view all the things. And this master detail is a very common pattern. And so that's create and read. Update would be like when you edit things. So if this had a typo in it somewhere, you could fix it. I'll put an exclamation point on there, although that's not really how you said it in the movie. And then delete is, of course, just delete. So here I deleted it. And being able to go through CRUD is very important and will be in your projects as well. And let's show you the lab really quick. The lab is going to be similar in a lot of ways, and it's called Photobucket. So here's the idea of Photobucket. So I've got it on two devices again, so my phone and also the emulator. And what you can do is you can click on these, it just shows the caption there to see the full photo. Now these images are already on the internet. These are not taken by my phone, they're just images that are on the internet. And so what we're saving is we're saving just two pieces of data. We're saving a caption and the image URL. So let me go ahead and make a new one. So this is my new photo. There's also a feature in this where it's kind of painful to type image URLs. And so if you leave it blank, it will just pick something for your new photo. So let's just see what it picks. And you have to write this code. So I think it looks like a hurling team picture, which is fun here. And of course, the emulator here has that same photo saved in it. Now, the only thing that's saved in the back end is just, I guess it's easiest to see with this edit, it's just the caption. So this is the Living Bridge photo and the image URL. And so those are the only two pieces of data that are changed, right? And so it doesn't actually save that much on the back end. By the way, this does live update from the detail page too. So this is Limerick hurling. I think that's the 2018 team. And so you can see that it updated even when you're on the detail page. Some things about the UI could be better there, about the length of the caption and things like that, but I'm not worried about that. And so that's the lab that you're going to be doing on your own. To be honest, it's really, really, really similar. The only thing that's really new is loading images, and I'm going to kind of tell you how to do that, right? Cool, so that's how we're going to start this unit. The other thing I like to do is I like to go to GitHub and go ahead and make yourself a new project on there called MovieQuotes. I think I've already filmed that, but I'll play that film with you and we'll get started. All right, so let's go ahead and just kind of do the bare basics. Let's go to GitHub, make a repository, and we'll just start a project, and that'll be it. So go ahead and make a project called MovieQuotes. And I'll go ahead and say learning to use Firebase and activities. So it's kind of the two big things that are new this time. We're also reviewing things like recycler views, dialogues, menus, etc. Right? As always, give it a git ignore for Android. And then I recommend you go ahead and give it the MIT license. and I'll initialize it with a README. Great, so I'm ready to create the repository, and then I'll clone it to my computer just by hitting open in desktop. Navigate to where you want to save it. I think the default there is fine, so I'll just go ahead and do that. Now I'll come into Android Studio, create a new Android Studio project, call it MovieQuotes. Navigate to that path where you just clone the repository. And then once you're at that path, my little thing is I like to make another folder inside of it for the app. That way if I have, so that's my GitHub repository, that's my app repository, they just happen to have the same name. I've seen that many times now for my preference. We'll start with a basic activity since we did use a floating action button. Calling it main activity is fine. Unchecking use a fragment. And it should hopefully build a new project for you. And then the only thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and delete my unit tests just because I'm not using them and I feel like deleting them. And then I like to run it just to make sure everything runs and goes smoothly. Go ahead and run it on my actual phone here. And if it says hello world, I know I'm good to go. So it eventually popped up there and it says hello world and everything was good. Plenty of things to fix, but I'll call that good enough for here. So this is my initial commit. All right, so come back next time and we'll start actually doing some things. I think we'll do some things with Firebase first just because it's kind of like new and exciting. But then at some point we've got to kind of like build the basics of the app, right? It's like we've got to do the dialogues, the recycler view, things like that. So don't be surprised when there's a lot of like review things in addition to the new things. We'll do some of the new things to kick things off next time. All right, see you next time.